You're the owner of a small business, which means you're also the tech guy, and HR, and personal assistant, and head honcho, and intern. You could use another pair of hands, like the experts you'll find at Verizon Small Business Days, April 21st through 27th. Get a free tech check, special deals, and more. Call 1-800-483-4428 or visit verizon.com/smallbusiness to book your appointment. Verizon Business.
Reality radio for a really great future. We're talking real money.
It's time for another Talking Real Money podcast with your favorite podcast money people, Don and Tom. I'm Don, of course, that's Tom over there. We get together here with you several times a week to try to bring some sanity to this incredibly crazy business of high and low finance. And I do mean high and low finance. It is simpler than it seems, and that's really our goal here, to educate you, to help you understand it is simpler than it seems, and to answer your questions. And you can get your questions answered by calling us anytime at 855-935-TALK, or send your questions in at talkingrealmoney.com on the contact form. Now,
and by the way, we'll take any question from anybody. Your girlfriend does not need to be a 10 for us to answer. We'll answer anyway. Just saying.
No. Yeah, she doesn't have to be 40 years younger either.
Indeed.
I just don't.
Anyway. Could be.
Anyway, by the way, and that was I think in Tuesday's podcast this week.
I believe you're correct.
Yeah, I think it was Tuesday's podcast this week. And I did, after that podcast, I did a lot of reading and research. And there are two kinds of scams that I feel like are combined in this. There is the well-known romance scam that men and women both use. And then there's the inheritance scam. There's actually an inheritance scam that somebody needs some money to cover inheritance costs, or I just need a little money to get by until the money comes in. Just help me out. I'll be forever indebted to you. It feels more scammy than real. It just does. And if it feels more scammy than real, most of the time it's more scammy.
Well, by the way, for both of us, we've only fallen for the romance scam twice that I know of.
Right,
so we're okay.
Right. We're on the same track. Yeah, we're on exactly the same track.
And that's all it's going to be.
Right.
That is
done.
It, man.
This is it. Last wife. All right.
Exactly.
Concubines, different story. Last wife.
Letting you say that.
I'm joshing Josh. Okay, so we got the number out of the way. We got the Talking Real Money website thing out of the way. The other thing we need to get out of the way is this nagging issue of, and we're going to talk about this at Retire Meet on the 20th of February, this nagging issue of retirement income.
It's always the number one question when I meet with people, Don. Do I have enough money for retirement? Mm-hmm. How am I going to get money for retirement? How does it work? Well, because people are baffled. Even people have been savers and investors. They get to this like within 2 to 3 years of retirement, and they sort of go, it makes me nervous. I mean, I got to start spending down the money I saved. Yeah. Well, how do I do that? And do I have to buy an annuity, or where do I have to put it to get the money back? No.
Well, though, you see, the annuity thing, though, has a high level of appeal to people because of our desire to feel certain, to feel confident, to know that something is going to happen and it's going to always be that way, to know the future.
And you think you get a guarantee with an annuity. You think that, well, by the way, an annuity is guaranteed by
the insurance company.
And insurance, yeah. I mean, so you got to, that's one thing to consider. And people say, well, it's never happened before. I think if you go back about a decade, there was this firm called AIG that would have gone out, but all of us jumped in to help it.
Yeah, if not for a government bailout. And many years ago, back in the 90s, there were several insurance companies that got in trouble and actually went into receivership. There was a big one in California, Executive Life, that took years to pay back policyholders.
But let's talk about this a little bit. And you mentioned that we're going to. This is a big topic at Retire Meet, so join us on the 20th. You gotta have a grasp of all this. So the annuity or not annuity, because the word that you just used is the word that everybody wants about all things in their life, right?
Certainty,
guarantee, certainty. They want to know. But let's just talk that through, and then we'll talk through a balanced account. So if an annuity, if you took the money, say $100,000. And you put it in an immediate annuity where you give the money to somebody else and they start sending you back some of your money plus a little bit of interest. How does that look over the long haul?
Actually, an immediate annuity is one of the annuities we don't hate. We hate most annuities. We just slightly dislike immediate annuities for most people. And here's why. I went and did some research on an immediate annuity. Let's say you have $100,000 and you want to generate an income from that for the rest of your life. Let's just say we know you're going to die in 20 years. You're 65. You're going to kick the bucket at 85. At least we have to do this. It's all hypothetical.
By the way, you'll get to 84 and you'll change your mind, but okay.
Okay, but then it's too late. That's the
people
problem.
Always say, no, I don't want it. Well, sorry.
One of the problems with an immediate annuity is you can't change your mind either.
Not very easily.
You gave them the money. It's their money. They only promise to give you an income for the rest of your life. I went looking at a couple of websites that they claim to give the highest quotes on immediate annuities, and I'm looking at A++ rated companies because we want
companies you're going to give you money
right?
back. Yep.
Safety.
Mm-hmm, absolutely.
So we're in the ballpark of about $460 a month.
So you're giving the $100,000, you're going to get $460 back a month.
Correct.
For 20 years.
Correct.
Okay.
That means you will have collected. You put $100,000 in, you will have collected $110,000. That's all.
That doesn't sound like a very good deal to me.
No, does that sound like a good deal at all? You see, it sounds like, I'm making 4.6% per year.
That's the part people think when they hear about annuity guarantees. Mm-hmm. I'm making that much. No, you're getting back that percentage every year. You
do the math.
So they forget about that.
Take $460. Yep. Multiply it by 12 months.
Not hard.
Multiply that by 20 years, you get $110,000. Now, let's just say you're willing to take a little risk with your portfolio because you want to make a decent income off your money, but not crazy risk. The balanced fund approach, 40% in bonds, 60% in stocks.
This is the strategy that you hear all the time where people say it doesn't work. It doesn't work anymore. You can't do this anymore in today's low interest rate environment. The bonds don't pay you enough. Your money will run out.
Well, we keep running scenarios, and a lot of people have. We're not the first ones to do this, where a mix of stocks and bonds, and it can be anything from 20% stocks, 80% bonds, to 40-60, which is the 60-40, which is the most aggressive end. And in almost any scenario that a computer can imagine, a 4% withdrawal rate holds up, even in
It does better than
downturns.
holding up. It does give the number in terms of how much you get out.
Well, let's say
after 20 years,
you build a portfolio, stocks and bonds, and you take out 4% per year. Just that. We're not going to even add inflation in. If I wanted to add inflation in, it'd make it even worse for the insurance company. I'm not going to add inflation. I'm just going to say you take 4% per year. That's $400 a month. Now you're thinking, it's only $400 a month. I was getting $460 from the insurance company. Think again. 20 years. You will have collected $96,000 in income. If by some strange chance you live a couple of extra years, well, you're going to have a lot of extra money to play with because the total, you still own your principal. Remember, you still own the $100,000, and we're assuming it didn't go up or down in value. It's still $100,000. And if you had some stocks, it probably went up, but let's assume it didn't. You would have $196,000 in 20 years.
So wait a minute, you get almost the same amount of money, and you still own the money, if you will.
Right.
It's still yours. Yeah, okay, so that's one. But then here's another. This is where it really gets, I think, easier to decide because there's been a lot of discussion about instead of owning bonds, why not just own something like an equity index annuity?
Oh, geez.
Which is, I don't think, bond-like at all, but people believe it's some magic product that gives you some part of the market, and you don't want to be in bonds right now because we're in a bond bubble, the rates are so low, et cetera, et cetera. It looks horrible into the future. By the way, they've said this many other times. This is where I think the trouble really starts for most investors because they hear again this is better than being in a stocks and bonds situation.
And again, it's not. This whole equity indexed annuities they're designed to be about as opaque as humanly possible. Even the people who sell them, many of them have a very difficult time understanding how they work, because what the deal is they promise you a portion of the growth in the value of a stock index over a particular time up to a particular cap.
You ran the numbers. You did a great paper on this, and you don't get much of a part of the market at all.
I'm not the only one who's run these numbers. The numbers, here's what they've come in at recently. Because of all the fees and expenses tacked onto these things, the way these are structured, they don't pay much more than just a plain vanilla fixed annuity, which is in the realm of 3 or 4% per year best case. So yeah, there's no downside as long as your insurance company doesn't go under. But there's not much upside either. The implication is that you get the return of the market. But remember, they don't give you the return of the top of the S&P 500, for example. They give you the growth in value of the S&P 500 minus the dividends. They don't give you the dividends. And they cap it. And it's only a percentage of that index.
And by the way, even if I was okay with all that, the reason I hate that is it's so complicated. But let me tell you the reasons I think anyone should be okay using an immediate annuity. These are the only reasons I can make. Number one, if you have a limited amount of money and you need a budget, this is a great way because you give them the money. They send you back this amount every month. You can't overspend because that's all you're getting, right? Number two, you cannot live with any volatility. You cannot take situations like March of last year or 2008 or 2000 when stocks go crazy. It just makes you nuts. I talked to a few people last spring that were actually crying, who were so upset about the market. And if that's you, then I'm okay giving them the money. The third only time I think really makes sense is if you are an elder orphan, if you're all alone, you got nobody else, there's no legacy, and you just want to make sure you're going to be okay, you're single, and I don't have to worry about this anymore, then I could see an immediate annuity. But the dollars do not add up to that as a good long-term strategy. I'll put it that way.
No, they do not make the kind of financial sense, scientific sense that we like to see. And these things are highly touted by a professor at the American University. But you got to take what he says with a huge grain of salt. Now, everybody's getting a little money one way or another. We have our own investment advisory firm. So you've got to take everything with a grain of salt.
Whoa. You're getting money from that?
Yeah, not this.
Wow, okay.
No, the firm.
Oh, not this.
Not this.
Okay.
This guy, Professor Pfau, his school is endowed by a life insurance company. So you gotta
careful.
Gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Just be careful. 855-935-8255 is a number you can call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we will help you deal with your money. And we really want to help. So call us there or go to talkingrealmoney.com, type in your question, or like this, you can actually magically record your question and we'll take it on the podcast.
Hi, my name is Scott. I have a question concerning my parents' financial well-being. They currently, mom's 63, dad's 65, and they are currently in a situation where they're just not sure what to do with their portfolio. They do have some retirement set up, some pension set up, and they're just not sure what to do with the current market and how things have changed. Mom asked me what I recommend, and I said, you know what? I'm going to talk to you guys, and we're going to get some good guidance, some up-to-date knowledge on this. So thank you very much for your time. Very much appreciate it.
I'm going to use a little old saying for you. Because you're talking about how things have changed. You know, the more things change, the more they stay the same.
I think we learned that the last couple of weeks, didn't we, with a couple of particular stocks where things look different. By the way, I want to say a huge compliment to you. My parents never asked me how to take care of their money. That's a big compliment. I mean, that's something you should be proud of.
Come on. You were dealing with the Colonel.
A little That's a little true.
He was a little type A. He wasn't going to admit you knew more about money than he did.
He's a physician. They know everything.
Yeah,
no offense to you doctors out there.
Colonel
They
and
do.
a doctor
I get
at
it.
the same time.
Yeah, forget it. You're never going to win. You think I'm going to win an argument with a talk show host like Don?
Yeah.
I'm never going to win one with the Colonel. So, first of all, I think that's a huge compliment. Number two, this is a fascinating thing to me because the change thing, get rid of that. I mean, because there's no reason to say the world's different now than it was 20 years ago, 30 years ago. That's always true. Number two, people always want to get to the investments first. How do I invest? Well, it depends because you got to know, because I think you mentioned something about pensions. Mm-hmm. So they may have pensions, Social Security. The first thing to do would be determine the amount of money they need every month, right? You got to have the plan in place. Then you say, I got a source here of a pension. I got a source here of Social Security. That would be part two. Then you would build the portfolio depending on how much return you need from that, how much income you need from that, and how much volatility they're willing to accept, rather than saying, go invest it this way. It's backwards in my mind. It's having dessert before the hors d'oeuvres.
Or kind of like maybe putting the cart before the horse.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right.
Well, then things are different, actually, Don, because we use cars now. But I understand how you may still be using the cart and the horse, so I get it. But I get it. No, and by the way, here's the thing. That is a perfect situation for you to talk to, or your parents, a real planner. Mm-hmm. Somebody who's planning centric. They're not selling a product. They don't have an answer to every, you just put it in annuity. Now, that's because you do hear that. Build the plan. Get somebody you trust, 100% fiduciary, do all that, then figure out the investments from that point.
Yeah, we do this the wrong way. We really need to start from a position of figuring out what the heck we need, because it turns out in many cases when people have pensions and Social Security and other sources of income, they get down to the investment part and they go, I don't need to be very aggressive. So you don't have to worry about the crazy market.
You don't need GameStop, et cetera.
Other times you don't have enough coming in. And then you have to take a little more risk. And the only way you're going to find that is to start the planning process with needs and then invest for those needs and risk on.
I think that's exactly right. Most people do not do that. They do it backwards, have a plan, then build the portfolio. Great question. And again, congratulations on the trust your parents have placed in you. I think that says a lot about your relationship. So
your folks
nice to
trust you. All right. Thanks for being a part of this podcast. We really appreciate you being here. We hope to see all of you at Retire Meet America 2020, which is open to everybody in the world. We got people from all over the world attending.
With
Retire
South
Meet
Africa
2020.
Now, we've got
Malaysia,
Ireland or something. Yeah,
United
it's all over the
Kingdom.
place. How about that?
United States, even. I know. Shocking that anyone's coming from the United States. We're like.
Here's the good news.
What?
It doesn't cost anything, but you have to make your own sandwich.
Well, your own.
So there's good news, bad news. Because we had a client in today who said, "I'm going to miss the sandwich this year. I love the food. So sorry."
Well,
but it's next year.
It's a pandemic.
Exactly.
So go sign up at retiremeet.com. Retiremeet.com. It's truly free. It's really easy. We're going to be together for about 4 hours or so on a Saturday, depending on.
I think it's 5, but okay.
We start at 11 and end at 3:30.
8 to 1. 8 to 1. That's what I had down.
Oh, you had 8 to 1?
You mean I get to go home earlier?
Well, I guess we could stay later. Yeah.
Okay. I don't care one way or the other.
Yeah, because we start the panel thing at noon. So if we go for a full hour, it would be 1 Pacific time.
Okay. Right.
I'm thinking, though, that I may leave you to the panel.
Yeah.
And I might just go do the show.
So you could do the whole show then?
Yeah, I'll do the show.
Oh.
While you're doing the panel.
Rather
than a best of. I mean,
we don't do best of because there aren't any. That's the problem.
It's never that good.
We've tried to find them. Went back through years and haven't located one.
That one wasn't that good. No. That one kind of stunk.
Sorry.
Yeah. All right.
Try again.
Tom wasn't funny. No. All right. Moving along.
As usual. Got it.
So anyway, call us at 855-935-TALK or visit us at talkingrealmoney.com. Send in your questions. Please tell friends. Write us a review at Apple Podcasts. And thanks so much for listening. I'm Don McDonald. That's Tom Powers.
Talking real money. We hope you realize that the information provided on Talking Real Money is for educational and hopefully enjoyable purposes only. Providing personalized financial planning or investing advice takes time, so please consult with a really good fee-only fiduciary investment, tax, or legal advisor. We know a good one. Investing must always involve risk. In other words, you can and probably will lose money at times. Also, as much as you want it, no one can accurately and consistently predict the future. So past performance doesn't tell you a darn thing about what the future will bring. Unlike many other programs that say something similar, Talking Real Money is not trying to get you to buy or sell any financial products or securities. Instead, the program is provided as a public service by Vestry, a fee-only registered investment advisor. Thanks for listening, and please visit talkingrealmoney.com for more information and disclosures. That should keep the lawyers happy.